one. Let our voices become one.
Today we have a heart-wrenching episode featuring true life accounts where people have lost their lives due to pain and sadness. Stay tuned for more after the break.
ARCA Durban provides an exclusive rehab treatment for alcoholism and drug addiction. The only rehab in South Africa that offers a medical detox treatment. We offer a superior, evidence-based and medically cutting-edge approach to the treatment of addiction. If you have been frustrated by repeated failures at rehab recovery or are unaware that there are proven anti-craving medications that can significantly improve treatment outcomes, give us a confidential call to learn more about ARCA Durban's rehab program. Contact ARCA Durban on 07827229111 24 hours or call our office number 031-261-5515 and our Johannesburg number on 0622770911. Office number 011-656-0705. Sell your old, damaged or unwanted gold jewelry. Gold Bar, raising the bar in the gold industry. Better prices, safe, fast and professional service. Contact us at 082-881-8654, Cornubia at goldbar.co.za.
October is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this week African Essence journeys through the mental health issues which affect our daily lives. We focus on depression, which leads to suicide.
The three most common mental illnesses are depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. These three may often occur in combination. For example, a person with anxiety might also develop depression, or a person with depression might develop substance use disorders in order to help themselves self-medicate. Mental illnesses can affect people's thoughts, mood, behavior, or the way they perceive the world around them. A mental illness causes distress and affects the person's ability to function at work, in relationships, or in everyday tasks. Mental illness can attract stigma and discrimination, which can be two of the biggest problems for a person with these disorders. Up to 1 in 10 people with mental illnesses die by suicide. ARCA Durban provides an exclusive rehab treatment for alcoholism and drug addiction. The only rehab in South Africa that offers a medical detox treatment. We offer a superior, evidence-based and medically cutting-edge approach to the treatment of addiction. If you have been frustrated by repeated failures at rehab recovery or are unaware that there are proven anti-craving medications that can significantly improve treatment outcomes, give us a confidential call to learn more about ARCA Durban's rehab program. Contact ARCA Durban on 07827229111 24 hours or call our office number 031-261-5515 and our Johannesburg number on 0622770911. Office number 011-656-0705. Sell your old, damaged or unwanted gold jewelry. Gold Bar, raising the bar in the gold industry. Better prices, safe, fast and professional service. Contact us at 082-881-8654, Cornubia at goldbar.co.za.
Major depression is more than just a passing blue mood, a bad day or temporary sadness. The symptoms of major depression are defined as lasting at least 2 weeks, but usually they go on for much longer than this, lasting months or even years. We are joined by Alisha Ramdari via video chat. At 12 years old, Alisha was in Johannesburg on holiday when her dad shot her two siblings, her mum, and then turned the gun on himself. There were no survivors. Her entire family wiped out. At 12 years old, you lost your entire family. Take us through that moment when you heard what had happened. And how old were you at the time?
Thank you for having me. For me, it was more of denial. I couldn't find myself to accept that my family had passed on. Remember, I was still in Johannesburg and they were in Durban. In order for me to come to terms with this, I had to see them or see something to believe that this suicide murder did happen. My dad was 40 years old, my mom 32, my sister 8 years old, and my baby brother was 3.
So you were away at the time, and the realization that this could have happened to you if you were at home, how does that make you feel?
I don't think my dad wanted me to be there, because if he had left me in Johannesburg and took my siblings down with him, he obviously had a plan. He knew what he was doing. Unfortunately, we did not know, like my families or myself. If I was there, I probably would have witnessed what had happened. He obviously did not want my life taken, if I put it in that sense. It sounds a bit weird, but he planned it through in such a way that I love. And I'm so glad that I did. It's sad in a way that I had to go through such trauma and this tragedy for me to actually see the purpose of my life. I mean, this tragedy has taught me to live life to the fullest. I know I've had a really harsh and hard upbringing since their passing, but if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't have Surviving Suicide Today, my suicide awareness support group on Facebook, and I wouldn't have an autobiography, and hopefully that can get published and I spread the word about suicide awareness and how my life was after losing my family to a suicide murder.
So tell me, what was it like for you growing up as a child? How was your relationship with your family and with your dad?
Growing up, we live a very thrifty lifestyle. Dad was not a person to just go out and spend and buy just anything. If you need it, yes, you will get it. No wants, but he always made sure that we got the best. He was very strict, and he had the most beautiful personality. He gave the best hugs, and I was my dad's pet. I followed him everywhere he went. He did stage decors as a sideline business, and I would go on weekends to help him to do stage decor. If he was working on the car, I'd be there. So I was more or less like his tomboy / right-hand man. So my dad and I had an extremely good relationship.
Were there any signs of pain, depression, or brokenness?
You know, if my dad was going through something, I would not have noticed it at that age. I mean, being a 12-year-old, you don't really notice these things. Yes, you would notice, okay, change in dad's attitude or something of that sort. But because we were children, and if mom and dad, say, had an argument, the children weren't brought into it, or it wasn't displayed so that we could see what is going on. So even if my dad was going through something, he either hid it very well and it was not known to us. Now, if I look back in that year specifically, dad was normal. His behavior was perfectly normal. There were no red flags. He did change his behavior, I think, towards the December part when he allowed us to break up as a family, because we were a family where we all go together. It wasn't where you stay behind and, that sort of thing. We went as a family. So there I would say, okay, I've noticed dad changing. But other than that, dad did not show any signs whatsoever that he is planning this, he is going through this, not even ask for help. I'm not sure if he reached out to his friends and family for assistance, but as far as I know, I did not see anything of that sort.
Was there a suicide note left? Did you ever know why your dad did this?
If he did leave a note, I don't think, I haven't seen it, or even if there was a cassette recording at that time, it probably went into evidence, or my families must have seen it, but it has not surfaced. And I don't think I would be at ease even if there was a letter, because there's still this unanswered questions that we have, like, why did he do that? I don't know. I really don't know why my dad did what he did.
That must have been really hard to find closure for you.
And you always hear rumors, and there's a stigma. The rumors that I've heard was that my dad was in, financial distress. My mom was having an affair, to a point of where I was actually blamed for my family's suicide murder. So seeing is believing. So if I did not see it, I did not hear it, I wouldn't believe it unless I've obviously heard and seen it myself. So you don't know what to believe. I don't know what was the cause of his suicide. Only he knows why he did what he did. He felt at that point it was the right thing to do. And I guess that's why it led to whatever it did.
So Alicia, after this tragedy, what was life like for you? Who took care of you? Did some of your family take you in?
Living through this tragedy after the passing of my parents was terrible. I did not get the support that I actually needed. I felt that it was just pushed aside and I had to deal with it on my own. I did go for counseling. That did not help me. And things just became really hard for me. I mean, even though I had family around me, I lived with my maternal side of the family, but it wasn't my parents, it wasn't my siblings. There's things that I couldn't go up to anyone and just say, hey, I need this, or please help me with this. It's not something that you would do, if you had a mom or a dad, you'll go and ask for advice. I couldn't do that.
It must have been really hard to adapt.
It was just extremely hard for me to cope and to handle everything. I would cry and cry and cry, but all that happened when I went to sleep. I couldn't do it out in the open. It was asking for a lot of problems.
Take us through your journey of adulthood.
Sure, adulthood was another roller coaster. I got married and my parents were not there to see it. My siblings were not there.
Must have been really tough for a young woman growing up.
It was sad. I mean, things like this, it's a milestone. It's a new chapter in my life, and I wish I had them there. I wish I had my mom to give me advice and my dad to walk me down the aisle. It was really sad that there were special moments in my life where I wish that my parents were actually there to be with me.
How did you deal with what happened? What helped you to cope through it?
Honestly, the beginning was really hard for me to come to terms with this. And as time went, it just became reality that my parents are no longer, my family, my siblings are no longer. And I have to live if this is what I want to do. I did try to attempt suicide. I did harm myself, self-harm. And at some point I decided, you know what, I just need to stop. If I'm going to live, I need to live. And I made up my mind to just go ahead and live life to the fullest, and whatever life throws at me, I'm just going to do it. Speaking a lot to my friends helped me to heal on the inside, and the more I told my story, the better I felt. There's a lot of stigma when it comes to suicide. A lot of people don't want to discuss it. At some point in my teenager years, I was also told, you know what, just lie about it and say that your parents died in an accident instead of telling them the actual story. Because people don't want you to say it's too embarrassing, or I don't know what it is, but always tell the truth. So that is when I started speaking about my tragedy and sharing my story to the world, because people out there need to know. And it's also a coping mechanism for me to heal and spread the word that it's, suicide is not a solution to anything.
Were you guys a close family? What were some of your fondest memories?
Fondest memories will be us lying in the lounge, listening to music, cuddling or laughing. My mom had really long nails, so she would love to run her fingers through my hair and you'd fall asleep. And those are things that I really treasure. The 12 years that I got to spend with my family and learn the little bit that I did from them, I really treasure that. There's no specific memory that I hold on to. Actually, every single moment that I've had with them is special to me.
Do you still have anger towards your dad for what he did?
Honestly speaking, I was very angry with my dad, with my mom, and with God. At some point, I gave up on prayer, and if it was true that my mom did have an affair, I was angry at her. But a few years ago, I decided that I don't need to be angry at them. I need to heal. I need to find peace, and I need to forgive my father. He did what he did because he felt that's what he should do. And who am I to judge him at the end of the day? So I forgave him, and prayer as well. I mean, if this is my path that I need to lead, then I shouldn't be angry at God. So prayer kept me going as well. And always have faith in the one that you believe in. Don't ever give up. That's a lesson learned from me, from this entire tragedy, is that, we give up so often, and we build up all this anger towards a person that's attempted suicide, and, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't even blame ourselves for not paying attention. We shouldn't do that.
What would your message be to others who have experienced a loss of this magnitude?
Grief, loss it's hard. I know they say with time everything heals. You heal, but you don't forget that heartache that you feel from within. It's always going to be there. I can be sitting and writing down something or cooking a meal, and memories start flooding me, and it just never goes. So don't be too hard on yourself. Give yourself that time to grieve. Cry, scream, do whatever you want to do. Just let that pain out. And reach out. Speak to people. Go for therapy. Find someone that you can talk to. Get onto support groups. I know, during my grieving process, a lot of times I did give up and I did not want to go on with my life. And there was just something inside of me that said, push on, push on. And I did. And it just shows that we can go on. With that pain, with that heartache, we can. And I'm here along with a million other people that are willing to hold space and listen to you and hear you out. Don't give up. Suicide is not the solution to anything. It's it's just a ripple effect. And remember that you matter, you are loved, and your life is so precious. Please just hang in there.
Alicia, thank you for sharing your painful and traumatic experience with us. We wish you blessings and the comfort of God always.
Every year, close to 800,000 people take their own lives, and many more people attempt suicide. Every suicide is a tragedy that affects families, communities, and even countries, and leaves lasting effects on those who are left behind. Stats even go to show that suicide is the second leading cause of death in the world. Let's join Kiara Rampal after the break.
ARCA Durban provides an exclusive rehab treatment for alcoholism and drug addiction. The only rehab in South Africa that offers a medical detox treatment. We offer a superior, evidence-based and medically cutting-edge approach to the treatment of addiction. If you have been frustrated by repeated failures at rehab recovery or are unaware that there are proven anti-craving medications that can significantly improve treatment outcomes, give us a confidential call to learn more about ARCA Durban's rehab program. Contact ARCA Durban on 07827229111 24 hours or call our office number 031-261-5515 and our Johannesburg number on 0622770911. Office number 011-656-0705. Sell your old, damaged or unwanted gold jewelry. Gold Bar, raising the bar in the gold industry. Better prices, safe, fast and professional service. Contact us at 082-881-8654, Cornubia at goldbar.co.za.
While the link between suicide and mental disorders, in particular depression and alcohol use disorders, is well established in high-income countries, many suicides happen impulsively in moments of crisis with a breakdown in the ability to deal with life stresses, such as financial problems, relationship breakups, or chronic pain and illness. Our next guest is Shantae Shanmugam, was only 17 when her mum hung herself and died. She succumbed to depression. Her pain was too great. Life for Shantae was hell in coming to terms with her loss today. She is an advocate for people with mental health disorders. Shantae, you suffer a great loss, and yet you manage to still find the strength to help others. We commend you for this. Welcome to African Essence.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being here.
Shantae, take us through the day your mum ended her life.
Okay, so I was 17 years old at the time. That day we decided to go to church. So my dad, my younger sister and my brother went to church that day. They were going to church in Phoenix and I was working at the time. So I was working as a waitress at Spur, and I finished at about 11 o'clock or so, and my dad came to fetch me afterwards and we were on the way home. And during this time, so in 2008 my dad lost his job, and from 2008 until 2011 things were very, very difficult, as you can imagine. So at that point in time we didn't have electricity. So our electricity got cut and we were using a generator. So when we got home, we drove in and we realized that there was a light flickering in the garage. So we used to stay in Waterfall, and obviously that's strange when you don't have electricity because there's not meant to be any lights. So we went into the garage, and that's when my dad and I found her. She had hung herself with the gown of the string from her gown, and yeah.
Tell us about the relationship you and your mom shared.
My mom was basically my best friend. I was her first, obviously, and we did everything together. There was nothing I couldn't talk to her about. Bad day, she was the person I ran to. If good news, she was the person I went to. We had an amazing relationship until after her depression really got really bad. That week where she was losing it, she actually stopped speaking to everybody in my family. She spoke to my sister, who was 3 at the time, and that was it. She never spoke to my dad, she never spoke to anybody else, and her depression got to her and made her so bad that actually it was at a stage where if she walked into a room, I walked out because she didn't want to speak to us. And yeah, but other than that, we had the best relationship.
During the build up to that day, was there any signs that indicated that your mom was going to end her life?
So my mom was suffering from depression for as long as I've known. From the time I was born, she was sexually abused as a child, and then she was sexually abused again as an adult when she was working in this one company. And obviously, if you're sexually abused once, it messes you up. If you're sexually abused twice, it really renders you, I don't know what the word is. But yeah, so she used to have her days where she was good, and she used to have her days where she was really bad. So we knew how to counteract. There was nothing we could do. It's just that we had to be there for her when she had those bad episodes. So we knew, obviously, the case, what it was, but there was nothing we could do to bring her out of it until she found the strength to bring it out of herself.
Shante, you mentioned that your mom always joined you and your family for church service, yet the day that she ended her life, she chose not to. Did you not find this out of the ordinary?
Yes, she does. But on that specific day, she obviously didn't. And I want to tell you, it would have sparked a weird, like we would have had a feeling, but there were obviously days where with depression, you don't know how it goes. One day the person is fine and the next they're not. And no matter what we say, if that person is feeling depressed, there's not much you can do. So we could have told her to come with, and my dad did, and she insisted that she wasn't going. So unless you're gonna forcefully pick a person up and put them in the car, there's not much you can do.
You mentioned that your mom suffered from depression from the time you were born. At any chance, did you get any indication that this sort of incident would happen?
There were actually a few instances where she did try. I think this was her third attempt, and from the time I could remember, she was in and out of psychiatric hospitals. She was speaking to psychiatrists, she was on medication. But eventually, after a while, she stopped taking her medication because it used to practically make her like a zombie. She used to lie in bed, she never used to do anything. And my mom, being the mom that she was, never used to like that. She used to like being interactive with her kids. She used to, want to be okay, and her medication didn't help with that. So she used to be on it for a while, and then she used to go off it, and then the doctors would change her medication. She spent time in psychiatric hospitals, all of them, and nothing was helping.
You mentioned your mom was sexually abused twice. Did anyone know about this? Did your mom share with your dad?
The first time she was sexually abused, nobody knew. She didn't tell anybody about it. She told my dad when she was 30. And that's when it all unfolded, and they found out that it was a family member and such. And then the second time it was actually caught on camera, because when she initially came forward about it, nobody believed her. But because where she was working had cameras, they were able to verify the story. So family knew, obviously, after that, and they all knew she suffered from depression because, as I was saying, she had episodes throughout her life where a week she was fine, the next week she wasn't. It went on, so everybody knew about it. But like I say, if you suffer with depression, unless you yourself are willing to try and get yourself out of it and try to be okay, then there's nothing much anybody else can do.
So your mom only told your dad she was sexually assaulted when she was 30, and everyone else found out only after the second assault. Was any justice served?
The guy just got fired. My dad didn't want to pursue it anymore. My mom was just irate after that. She slipped back into depression. The last thing he cared about was going after some guy. With the first instance, when my mom finally did come forward and my dad said, nobody believed her. So I think that just made it worse, because when you tell people who are closest to you that something bad has happened to you, you expect them to take your side. And when they don't, that obviously doesn't really help the case.
Shante, do you ever blame yourself for what happened?
I want to tell you that I don't blame myself for it every day, but I do. And I'm sure my dad does as well, and every person who knew my mom would do the same. We obviously wish there was a lot more we could have done. And I'm not saying we didn't. We were with my mom 100% through everything that she went through.
I guess, yes, you were young and you didn't really know how to deal with such back then.
I feel like at the end of the day, so after my dad lost his job and that very bad patch, my sister was born in 2008. So when you don't have a job and you have a newborn in the house, it's very difficult. And to cope with everything that she was going through, she actually started getting addicted to her tablets that she was taking. So to be okay and functioning, she used to take a lot of medication. And when that wasn't working, so my dad has a shoe factory. Whatever inhalants he had, she used to use that just to numb whatever she was feeling. And I think to that point, she knew that we were so disappointed with her. Even though we were still there and we were still trying, we just wanted her to get better. And I feel like she, as a person, knew that she wouldn't be able to overcome it. And that's why she did what she did. And in fact, she even told my sister, I'm not even sure how my sister remembers, but she did. She wanted to apologize and she didn't want to hurt us anymore. And that's why she did what she did. So a lot of the time, I don't think, a lot of people say suicide is selfish and it's not thought through and people should stay. But a lot of the time, most of the people don't really think about what they're doing to the people that they leave behind. They just want the pain that they're feeling to end. And most of the time they do it because they don't want to hurt their family anymore. So
Shante, what was life like growing up after your mom passed away? Your sister was 3 years old and you had to take on a motherly role. Tell us about that.
It's been very difficult. Like I said, I'm the oldest and my brother's now 19 and my sister is 12. So there's a lot of instances where I wish she was here, but having to spend 17 years of my life with her, I know a lot of the values that she instilled in me, so I do the same. And I've come to a stage 9 years later where you're able to be upset that she's no longer around, but also celebrate her life in general. So yeah.
You were entering matric during this time. How did you cope with this traumatic stress?
I honestly don't know. I think when you're thrown into a situation, you just deal with it. So, like I say, my dad's been an absolute godsend. He's not one of those fathers where if something tragic happens, he just goes and resorts to a bottle or thing. He took the place of my mom and he's been absolutely wonderful. So it was, yes, I had to parent, but my dad was there doing most of it. So it's just that when he got weak, I took over.
Shante, take us through the events of the day your mom passed.
She was normal. Like I said, she wasn't speaking to us very much, but she was herself. She was, the day before as well, she was in the kitchen, she was cooking, she was doing her normal things, she was cleaning, usual. So there was no indication that she was going to do what she did. Even after we found her, when we went back into the house after my dad and I found her, all her stuff had been laid out on the bed like she was going to shower. So it was not a thought out process. It was I'm gonna go shower and this came into my head, but I'm gonna do this instead. And so there was no indication that it was a long thought out thing. Obviously, like when you're depressed and you don't want to be around, suicide's always at the forefront of your mind. Anything that goes wrong after that, you think about it. But in this instance, it wasn't the case for her. She was planning on living and then one split moment decided no, she'd rather not.
Shante, tell us about your work now with people who are depressed or suicidal.
So 2 years ago, I decided that I was in a place emotionally where I would be able to help somebody else go through this. So I put up a video detailing exactly what happened to my mom, and I wanted to let people know that if they are depressed and suicidal, that they aren't alone and they have somebody who they can talk to. Because I feel like if she had other people besides us that she could speak to, she would be okay, or she would still be here. Or maybe she wouldn't, but it would have helped. Because I feel like she felt like she was very alone. And so I put myself out there and the response was absolutely overwhelming. Before my mom committed suicide, I hardly even knew the word. I mean, suicide you hear every once in a while and doesn't really have an impact on your life. But after she did it, it was just everywhere. And every person I speak to now has somebody in their life who has committed suicide or they are suicidal themselves. And there are far more people who suffer with depression than people actually know. So I just wanted to be that person that they could speak to, and so that they could know that they weren't alone and that they can overcome depression. So that was that instance. After that, it's just been seminars and whatever I can do to raise awareness about suicide, especially in the Indian community. I feel like people suicide and depression is like a taboo word. They don't really want to speak about it. If you tell somebody you're depressed, they're like, okay, well, just get over it. And people don't understand that that's not the case. You can't just get over it. So yeah, and then 2 years ago I held a candle lighting on September 10th because it's obviously Suicide Awareness Day. We had like about 100 people there. So yeah, just commemorating people who have lost their fight to suicide and everybody who's fighting against depression. And yeah, Teen Suicide Week, I did talks at schools. So it's basically whatever platform I can get myself onto to raise awareness about suicide and depression, that's where I am.
Lastly, what is your message to the audience?
So it's okay to not be okay. I feel like in today's society, telling people you suffer from depression or you on antidepressants or you're not feeling okay is like a bad thing, and it's not. A lot more people suffer with depression than they let on, and even if you're in a loving family and you have all the money in the world and you have everything going for you, that in no way means you don't suffer from depression. Depression and suicide are not restricted to a certain race, to a certain age, to a certain gender. It can attack anybody, and it's okay to not be okay. Sometimes you don't really want to speak to somebody in your family, and that's why it's okay to reach out to a stranger, because in certain instances your family understands, but they don't fully understand what you're going through. And yeah, so it's okay to not be okay. And even if you're struggling financially now, poverty is a global struggle, and there are always people who can help and assist, and no problem lasts forever. So if you are going to end it now, you'll never ever see what happens next and if it gets better. You can contact me on Facebook. My name is Shante Shri Shanmugam. Just add me as a friend, and yeah, if you need assistance, you can just message and we can take it from there.
Shante, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. We wish you continued love.
Mental illnesses can affect people's thoughts, mood, behavior, or the way they perceive the world around them. A mental illness causes distress and affects the person's ability to function at work, in relationships, or in everyday tasks. Mental illness can attract stigma and discrimination, which can be two of the biggest problems for a person with these disorders. Up to 1 in 10 people with mental illnesses die by suicide.
And a heart beats like a drum. Feel the fire of the sun.